to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God. But Jesus rebuked him, saying, Be silent, and come out of him. And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying out with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept asking one another, What is this? A new teaching, a new authority. For he commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord. Please be seated. The God of north and south, the God of east and west, surround his sons and daughters with peace and mercy on this morning. Have you come to destroy us? Asked the possessor of the man standing in the synagogue. Why, yes, Jesus did come to destroy him, and this same Christ has come to destroy us, so that our possessor no longer has claim on us. On TV, there's this commercial of this grimy little germy bug guy. Sometimes he has his family with him, and they represent the germs that Mucinex is going to kill. But before that happens, they're having a really good time, and they're partying, and they're making snotties, and all kinds of good things happen with their possessor. But as soon as he sees that box of Mucinex, he knows things aren't going to be good. Nah, it will be for the person he's possessed, but not so much for him. And so has Mucinex come to destroy that germy little creature in his family? Why, yes, yes indeed he has. So, the answer to the same question, have you come to destroy us, was yes then and it's yes today. Jesus did come here to destroy us. He came here to remove the possessor or the possessors that consume our lives. The possessor who changes who we are and what we are. And what does our possessor look like? It could be addiction to, and you fill in the blank. It can be hate. It can be unwillingness to forgive. It can be a broken relationship you are too stubborn to reconcile. Perhaps it's money or perhaps it's work. But whatever it is, it takes on a life of its own, and its world becomes ours. Whatever it may be, Jesus has come to destroy it. Now, Jesus did not destroy the man in the synagogue, and Jesus does not destroy us. You see, through the waters of baptism, we are claimed and we are cleaned. And in the meal at the table, we are forgiven, and we are fed, and we are blessed. We are not destroyed. But what keeps us from the will of God, what keeps us from the work of God, what keeps us from even our ability to turn to God, is what Jesus came to destroy. I noticed on the way in that Ron had changed the reader board, and now it says, Jesus forgives. Yes, even for that. My friends, this is truer than true. In our life together as Mount of Olives, as our life together in this community of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and as our life together as human beings living on the same planet, we shouldn't be out to destroy one and another. But I ask you, how many have left this church right here? Not the ELCA, destroy does not mean to die. Always. To be destroyed means to lose who and what you are. And who are we? Truly, to take that away from our fellow brothers and sisters. I ask you, how do we begin instead to understand what looks different than what we know? How do we begin instead to let life just be for others, even if it's not what we would choose? Who are we to condemn others' choices? And how do we find the mindset that says, okay, you are kind of different from me, and I might even think you're a little weird, but as long as you let me and mine live and love the way that we need to, and it isn't bothering us or destroying anything that surrounds us, I'm okay with it. How do we find that mindset? How do we get there? Well, here's no earth-shattering news. I would suggest we turn back to the Bible that says, love your neighbors as you love yourself, and as Jesus had told us, love each other as I have loved you. No, these words aren't ever going to be taken to the United Nations and solve all the world's problems, but perhaps they are a start right here for each of us in our small little ways, reconciling the wrongs that have taken place, forgiving whatever unforgivable sin you think is just so horrible and awful. It begins with us loving ourselves and each other as ourselves. Christ came here to give us life, all of us life. And Christ came so that we would no longer die, but that we could live an eternity in our Father's kingdom. Christ came to destroy the old. But in that destroying, he builds up anew. And in that destruction, new and beautiful things abound. And life continues with grace and mercy and forgiveness and love. Did you come here to destroy us? Yes, Jesus said. Yes, I